We're here with Marc Adams from acquisitions4u.com to talk about how to double your value and maximize your exit without equity dilution, without borrowing, without personal guarantees, and without disrupting your business. So Mr. Marc Adams helped turn an $18 million struggling company into a $140 million exit. And he says that most founders are losing half their payday without even realizing it. He's the architect between the double and exit framework, which helps business owners rapidly increase value and keep more when they sell without debt or dilution. We're here on the Marketer of the Day podcast with Robert Blank. We're brought to you by dfypodcast.com. We handle the podcast backend so you can focus on the conversation. And the conversation we're having today is to exit first and avoid these value killers and maximize that payout you get when you leave your business properly, and how to maybe do things the correct way ahead of time. That way you can properly plan for the future, your legacy, your family tree, etc. So, Mr. Marc Adams, how the heck are you?
Robert, that's an amazing introduction. Thank you so much, my friend. And I've got some living up to do to that one for sure. And I'm really well, thank you. And to answer and to just go into it a bit more, what I'm going to be talking about today, people will not have heard of. Often people say to me, that sounds too good to be true. It's got to be a scam, until they get into how we do it. And then they realize it's not a scam, because it's just what we're doing is taking a system that we've come to realize is broken, which is building the value of a business, and exiting it so that owners keep so much more, and just figured out another way to do it where they can keep an awful lot more of it. But the people that buy that business don't pay anymore. It's just a redistribution of the wealth in favor of owners. And it kind of started by accident, as you know, because we've spoken about this. Unfortunately, in 2020, if I took you back to where I was then, I got diagnosed with stage 4 terminal cancer. I'm really pleased to share with you and the listeners that I managed to survive that without chemo or anything else, which is a miracle in itself. But going through that journey, what they reckon cured me was having the cancer removed and getting the original strain of COVID whilst in the hospital to have the cancer removed, which they reckon was what forced my immune system into overdrive, which cleared out the secondaries. So I'm so lucky to be here, having a chat with you and having the opportunity to share with your listeners. But it started a journey because as I was going through recovery, for one reason or another, which sounds odd, we were all in lockdown. If I take you back to that, we spent the whole year in lockdown. Our kids were in lockdown, buddy. And so my 10-year-old at the time, Thomas, his lockdown was playing Xbox every day because none of the schools were geared up for all of this. So he was loving it. The rest of us were in a different place. But when he came in to see me one day, recovering from the operation and from COVID at home, just picture me lying in bed, looking out on the right-hand side. We got nice views of open fields in our house. And on the left-hand side, over in the corner, there's a door, TV on the wall and a dressing area to the left. And he'd open that door in the corner every morning. He couldn't come in because we had to be distanced from each other. Those were the rules at the time. But he'd just check on me at morning, lunch. Of course, in the UK, we do afternoon tea. And then at tea time, bedtime. But we talk about Xbox most of the time. He was doing his best to try and teach his old dad what that's all about, but I'm not really very good at it. But one day he came in and I was just getting off a call to LA, and it was about a business that we wanted so much to buy, but the price was too high and we couldn't close the gap. And we were just chatting around it, and I just threw out, it's so sad that 9 out of 10 of the times when you get close to wanting to buy a business, this gap in the middle, we can't cover it and we don't end up buying it. And all he cared about, because he's not money motivated, was what happens to those 9. That what happens to those 9 has become a bit of a phrase that we use now, which is helping the 9 out of 10. Because what happens to them is that they don't sell. And if you look around you, listeners, if you all look around you to people that you know that run businesses, ask yourself in your mind, how many of those are people in their 60s and 70s and 80s that are still working in those businesses? Now, some of them will be doing it because they love it, but many of them are doing it because they can't get the price they need and they still got bills to pay. So what was the dream for them becomes the prison because they can't get out with as much as they need. And as we started thinking about this, I made a promise to him to help the 9 out of 10 with no idea how to do it. And that's what led to the book, Secrets to 10xing Your Business and Cashing Out Tax-Free, which any of your listeners can have a PDF copy of, free from the website, and they just go to the website and download it. And that kind of was built to help business owners do more for themselves to improve the value of their business in a number of different ways. 12 different chapters covering different things that you can do, and none of them include AI. My next book I'm working on at the moment does, but I didn't put AI into that book. So fast forward, it wasn't enough because I got lucky to be on a podcast from a podcast host that saw the book and thought it would be interesting. That led to a lot more. That led to some speaking, and that led to somebody coming to me from the audience saying they wanted to help. And that was a couple of family offices that support us now with over 20 billion of cash. And subsequently, we raised 500 million in private credit in Q4 last year, specifically to help business owners do a couple of things. And this comes back to something that you said as the headline. What we're trying to help business owners do is double the value of their business in 6 months. And we do that by partnering with them using the capital that we've got to double it in 6 months. No equity dilution for them, which is massive, because if you go out and raise money now, you can either bring in investors and they'll dilute you maybe by 50%. So you owned it all and now you've got half of it. And now you've got to grow it back to what it was and double it again before you actually go forward yourself with more money in your pocket should you sell. And the other thing that they don't have to do is they don't have to take any debt service. So they're not borrowing from a bank and repaying a loan. They can use the cash they've got to keep building the organic profitability of the business and grow it that way, which means they've got no PGs to do, no disruption in their business. And we'll work with them to build the value of that of their business with methods that we've used and developed to grow the overall profitability. So we want to double the value in 6 months. But that's only half the story. Probably 7 times out of 10 when I'm talking to business owners these days, they've done an amazing thing building loyalty, building a good business, looking after their staff, and they've been doing it for 20 or 30 years. And they come time to think about selling it, and within 6 months, up to 50% of the value is stripped away. Now, it's not always 50. The range is normally 30 to 50%, Robert. And that depends on where you live. In the UK, it'll be a blended 33, 34. In California, it'll be close to 50% by the time state and federal are finished with you. Same in New York, but in other places in America, it'll be 30, 32, something like that. So it does range. That's the reason for the variation. But if you're a business today and you're worth 5 million and you're going to sell it, then you could lose, 30 to 50% of it, which means you're going to keep between 2.5 and 3.5, maybe 4. So what we're going to help them do is double the value to 10. And then if we have a bit more time, we'll try and help them organize it in a way where they can keep so much more. So we reduce the fees and reduce the tax liability so that the combined could be 10% or less. So if you double the value of it and you're only going to be paying 10% in fees, now you're going to keep 9. That's not a double an exit, that's a treble an exit. And so there are some fees you're going to pay. You'll come back closer to a double. But in the space of 18 months, they're in a much, much stronger position than they were if they'd sold the business on their own and done and would do nothing. And the thing that really amazed me and embarrassed me, because I came from corporate and private equity, Robert, was that and it's not that private equity is bad. Their job is to buy good businesses at the lowest price they can to get a return for their shareholders and build them up over time and sell them for the maximum they can to get the return for their for their investors. But the owners of those businesses are the ones that often miss out. So what we do is unique. No one else does what we do in the way that we do it. And so we, in terms of bringing it together and protecting shareholder equity and non-dilution, no PGs and things like that, it allows owners to keep more. It doesn't change the price point of the business and what it's going to sell for, but it just means that the broken model, as I now like to call it affectionately, the existing model, which is a global issue, can now be changed so that business owners can actually keep an awful lot more. And that's the difference between somebody having a great retirement and sometimes not even being able to retire at all. So that, it's kind of, and it started with the book. And we knew we were doing something right when capital came to us. We didn't look for it. And now we've bootstrapped the business to 25 consultants trying to help as many companies as they can. Now, you do need to be generating more than 500,000 in profit for this to be effective. We can still do the same things to help companies, but we're not as effective when it's below 500,000 in profit. So the book is designed to help people organically do some other things to get their business up to 500,000 in profit. And then if they want to go ahead and potentially sell it, come back to us. And on the website, we've got the first stage of our free marketing tools. What we discover with companies is they're desperate to get good marketing coming into their business, but they can't afford the agencies. They're really good agencies, but they're too expensive for them. So we've developed a whole bunch of tools that people can use for free from our website, like marketing, website frameworks, email campaigns, LinkedIn stuff, and more. They can just go and use that from the website, answer 8, 9, 10 questions, and it will build out those frameworks for them. They're not drop them in and use them as they are. You'll need to provide a little bit of context and wordsmith them, but that is a huge lift for those smaller companies trying to get to that first step. And then the double and exit framework can help them get to the next step. So we're starting to have some significant impact and make some big waves just because what we're doing is like people look at it and you can imagine we can double the value of it with no equity dilution, no debt service, no PGs, no disruption of your business, and people will go, that's got to be a scam, but it isn't. We still get paid, but we enjoy some of the upside that we bring. We do. There's a monthly fee for that people that work with us, which is very affordable. We gear our success in the confidence that we have to deliver. So we gear our success towards your success, and therefore we keep the monthly fees lower. But we'll share in the upside. So if we can get you a big result, then everybody's happy to give us that because they weren't going to get that result. It's all, it's all jam on the top, or what would you call it? It's like cream or jam or whatever it is that sits on the top. That's what it is, and we take a piece of that. That's how we make money. But people like it so thus far. But it's a long. What we want to do is change the way that businesses are valued and bought and sold and appreciated all around the world. But it's going to take us a long time to get there. And so these are just small steps. So I hope that what we're doing is eventually going to be helpful to some of the people that listen to your show. And if they're thinking about making a change in the next 1 to 5 years, they maybe want to just visit the website and just see what resources are there that could help them. They don't have to talk to us. But if they want to, I've set aside some time to have short 15, 20-minute conversations with people just to point them in the right direction. No obligation, no sale, nothing to sell them. I'm basically fulfilling a promise to a 10-year-old boy who's now 14. Looking forward to being 15 in 6 weeks or so. But we're trying to help as many people as we can. And there are some people that will want to work with us. We can do that, but we have limited scope because we're not a big organisation. We can't work with everyone. God, that was a lot.
It seems like a much
I
needed
didn't even
service.
take a pause there, Robert.
It is a lot, but yeah, don't forget to take time to breathe. But you're helping out these 9 out of 10 that are left behind, and it's like it. But it does seem like overwhelming, doesn't it? All the things that we need to know, and it's like I feel like that the person that goes from like employee to business owner, it's quite a leap, right? It's quite a shift in mindset and having the kind of the build the muscle and have the hard work and the risk and the expectation and all that. But then it seems like to build a proper business, right, with the good accounting and the procedures and something that doesn't depend on you and that has the advertising, like that feels like it's a whole other level, right? It's like there's employee to business owner, and then there's like to create this like solid sellable business that's in good shape. And so when people are looking to get this education, they say, oh, I'm just a contractor. I'm just I just provide whatever service. And you're saying that now they have to figure out all this marketing. Like, is there any pushback, or do people get overwhelmed with all the self-educating they have to do?
Yeah, I think it's not overwhelmed. It's just which inevitably will come. But a lot of people, and I'm very controversial on this, so I'll get to the controversy in a minute. What you tend to find is a company will get in the groove of doing the thing that it does. And if the person is the face of the business, that's a difficult business to sell. Absolutely. But once you get beyond 500,000 in profit, then you start to bring in other people around you because you're starting to move to a point where it's harder in most businesses to just be a one-man band generating that level of profit. Now, there are exceptions. High-value consultants, can be pulling in $1 million a year. I'm not talking about those. I get that. But if you're doing, if you're an electrician, plumber, or any of home services, the more traditional businesses, they're going to get to a certain size where they're going to need more people around them. Now, everybody's going to tell you systems, processes, procedures. And while that's true, we don't actually focus on anything inside the business. What we're doing is improving the value of the business using our capital to do things outside the business that will make it more valuable. There's two big reasons for that. One, there's a lot of experts out there that can help you come in and make your business more efficient and more streamlined for the processes and procedures. And that may or may not be the right thing. Here comes the controversy. Most acquiring groups that we work with don't want us to make that thing smooth and systemized and processized and with all the management team. They don't want that done. And the reason they don't want it done is because that's low-hanging fruit for them. And it makes sense. So what I'm looking at is if you're a business and you're making $750,000 and that's a 15% EBITDA and you are the most inefficient business in the world, that's gold to me. Because I know that when somebody acquires that business, they're going to take it fairly easily to 22.5% EBITDA in most cases, not all, which helps the people that make the decision to purchase that business justify the decision that they made, makes them look good to their bosses. And there's still things that's the first step. They'll probably get it to 25 or 26% from there with the harmonization of what they do. That's number one. Number two is we're looking at, just take two different sectors right now. So we're working with a very big acquirer that spends over $6 billion a year acquiring companies in the IT space. They can't find the right companies to buy. We can. So we're helping them group all that together. And they want to buy them as a going concern, and they're not going to mess with them. They want to protect the name above the door. They want to protect the legacy. They ideally want those owners to stay. They're a bit like Warren Buffett on value investing. So they ideally want that stuff, and they don't want it disturbed. Over time, they'll introduce some things that might improve operations and procedures, but not at a rate that disturbs the ethos and culture of the business so that people leave, because they recognize that the employees and the people in the business are the most valuable. And all the soft things they do, like building the relationships with their clients and the local ecosystem that they're working in, are the things that you never can systemize. And if you lose those people, or not easily systemized, and if you lose those people, you've lost a hell of a lot of value in that business. That's number one. Number two is when we're looking at companies and we're bringing them together into a group, I'm often going to find you've got a young team over here and an older team over here, and that younger team wants to stay and can take on the management over time of this team over here. So there's a lot of manipulating that we can do, or organizing we can do there as we're building a bigger group, because we've got the capital to build a group. So that makes a huge difference as well. But I would say, if you asked me to put a number on this, I'd say 75% of the time, acquiring institutions, this is not private equity, acquiring corporates don't want you to go and organize and processize too much, because they're going to go and do it again anyway. And now I mentioned two. I've talked about the IT one. We've got a big one going on in HVAC. And that's an incredibly popular area where companies get bought and sold all the time. And there are some very, very big corporate players. And we know that some of the private equity guys are rolling these things together, streamlining it and selling it to them. But they really love buying the businesses and they'll buy businesses that are as low as 500,000 in profit and as high as 24, 25 million in profit. And this particular company will buy them all over the world. And they got huge teams on the lookout for this, but they can never find the right kind of companies. What we provide is slightly different, because we can find them, but we've got the capital to organize it, because sometimes they're unusual in as low as they go in terms of value. A lot of the time, they might not go lower than $1 million, in generally speaking, but because we can group that and bundle it as value, that's valuable to them. Now, business owners can't do this on their own, because to make it a bigger group, they've got to raise the capital. So you're back in the dilution and you're back in the debt service piece. And that you can do that. And lots of business owners do bolt on companies over a period of time, but it'll take them 7, 8, 9 years to do it. Whereas with a capital partner where we can work alongside them, we're looking at 6 to 18 months to make that happen. And that's a complete game changer. And so the industry likes it for those people that are acquiring, and obviously sellers like it because they can realize a return so much more quickly. I should say some sellers, some businesses like it because some businesses want to continue down the path of the 7, 8, 9, 10 years to build a bigger thing and then potentially sell it. So it's not a one size fits all, but we're driving a great big hole right down the middle of the market and saying, why do you need to do debt service? Why do you need to do dilution? When we can create value for you where you don't need to do that. So you make more and you keep more if we can also structure you to reduce fees and taxes as well. Reduce, not eliminate. You can sometimes eliminate the tax completely. But if I say that, people shoot me because, governments don't like you saying that. And it doesn't work for everybody. But you can sometimes organise things in a way where they wouldn't have to pay any tax at all. That does not always work. But, we've built some specialty software that can assess whether companies and individuals can do that wherever they are in the world, very, very quickly at a very high level. That's cool. That's all on the website as well. Robert, I talk too much, man.
Very nice.
I hope I'm not boring your listeners.
I'm taking it all in because it's not boring the right person who needs this, right? The person that has this fear, or maybe the ignorance of the fear they should have, where they're maybe looking at this retirement however many years from now, and knowing you and getting your advice might be the difference between, as you said, not being able to retire or being able to retire, getting the proper price on selling that business. And so it's amazing to hear about what's possible and what we might be looking to avoid. But in these final few minutes of our conversation, I wish we could talk for hours, but we want to get people excited and go in and check out your book, check out your website. Like, do you think, is there like something that's not spoken about enough with all this? Is there maybe a missing question in our conversation that I should be asking you? I just don't know to ask you.
Yeah. So, and it's difficult to put this into words. Let me try and explain it in a scenario. All of us, when we start a business, I used to do this. I bet you're doing it too. We start a business. We serve our community. We add value. And we just accept that when we think about growing or particularly selling that business, that the UK tax authorities, the German tax authorities, the IRS in the United States are going to become our partner because they're going to lighten our pockets to the tune of 30 or 40%. We never question it. We very rarely question it. Of course, some people do. But very too often, business owners don't even think about it. They just accept, oh my God, look at how much tax I've paid. Sometimes almost as a badge to say I paid so much tax. It doesn't have to be that way. So with people, if take away one thing and they're running a business, it's I would say go check out and use the free tool on my website to figure out that if you sold your business, it will just take you 2 minutes and ask you probably 6 questions. It will ask you where your business is headquartered, where do you pay your tax, what revenue do you do? What value do you think your business is worth? If they know their profit, they can put that in as a percentage and it will tell them what the double and keep it element is. It will tell them what they could do if they could double it. But what I want them to see is how much are they leaving on the table? How much? And the biggest thing, Robert, is people don't know. It's not ignorance. You can't be ignorant of things. You just don't know what you don't know. And so and when you see that, if you're a small business, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. You're not going to save much. You're not going to keep much. But if you're a bigger business and you're worth 5 million and you're willing to say, okay, I'm willing to give away 1.5 to 2.5 million of that 5 million, you're taking that away from your legacy that you want to leave to someone else. And you're giving it to a partner that's done not very much to help you probably along the way. That's criminal. That's the broken system. And you should be paying your taxes and you should be paying your fees, but you don't have to pay as much. So the big question people I wish would ask is, how much goes in my bank and how much more can I keep? If you start thinking about not what I sell for, but how much goes in my bank, then you could start looking at the holistic view of, okay, this is what I sell for. How can I minimize what I'm going to lose? What steps could I take? And to do that, you need to start a little bit early. I can double the value of it and get you out in 6 months, but I can do more and reduce the leakage by a very significant amount if you give me a bit more time. I probably need a bit, 8 months, 12 months more to do that. So 18 months. And if you are, 5 million and we can double you to 10 and you can keep 8.5, 9 of it, that's worth it, because it took most people 20 years, 30 years to get to the point where they were worth 5. Now they're going to keep 3. So the big question I would love people to ask themselves is, if I sold, how much am I going to lose and how can I keep more of that? And at the very least. And then if I were getting ready to sell and I could find a way to double it without dilution and without debt, that would be wicked. How do I do that? And then come and talk to me, because I'll tell you. But I'm not going to tell the
Ooh,
people
very
in the
nice. Well,
government. I'm only joking. What we
right.
do is
Yeah, that's a secret.
completely and utterly above board. It's just reorganizing the way that business gets done.
Well, these are some exciting possibilities you lay out for us, and I know that. Like, can you remind me, like, what are the qualifications? You say like 500,000 in profit, and you had some
That's
other
it.
like pre-requirements, right?
That's it. Just 500,000 in
That's it.
profit. Yeah.
Okay.
So you're going to find it
Okay.
won't work in. You're going to find some other things that will crop up. So you might be making 500,000 in profit, but you're in an industry which is not favoured at the moment. So in recent years, construction or sections of construction have been like that. So even if you were making 2 million in profit, you're not going to sell the business because no one's buying in the sector, for example. But to keep things simple, 500,000 in profit, and then from there, we can help people see a path for them to plot on their own to double and exit.
Very nice. So if someone's at that point, or I think you also said like if they're not there, then you can educate them. What are some next steps here? They got excited. They got a taste, a tease of what can be done. Where should they go now?
If they go to acquisitionsforyou.com, so the acquisitions figure for you as in YOU.com, they can download a PDF copy of the book. That will help anybody get from where they are up to 500,000 in profit. It will help those above 500,000 as well. They can check out the site, and there'll be an intro video on the first page saying, welcome to the site. It's me. Go here to double and see what your numbers look like on doubling your value. Go here to get free resources. They can go out and they can download the book. They can value their business. They can see what they could potentially double it to and keep. They can access free resources and in terms of marketing, so they can spend 3 or 4 minutes answering some questions and get some initial marketing plans for themselves, which they can download and go and use. Don't need to talk to us to do any of that. They can assess what their tax liability position is going to be. And so they start to get a view of, crikey, this is how much we're leaving behind, or this is how much we need to grow to get to a point where we're leaving behind less. So they can do all of that stuff on the website. If they want to have a chat about their personal situation, they can do that. They can WhatsApp me. All the details are on the website. They can book a call with me directly or somebody on my team, and we can just have a chat. It's not a heavy sell. It's just a conversation about where they are and next steps they can take. 20 minutes, and I've allocated 20, 25 of these for people. So I'm hoping that there's not thousands of them, because I'll be here for 6 months. But normally it's 20, 25 people are interested in finding things out we've found, and we're happy to help.
Very cool. Well, I love your energy, Mr. Mark, and that's what you want, right? You want, because this is kind of a big deal as far as all the work that needs to be done, but it's for sure worth it on the other side. And so if you are interested in this idea to double your business value in 6 months with no equity dilution, no debt, and maximize your exit, go to acquisitions number 4 YOU.com. Go there, click around, read up, get educated. And then when you're ready to pull that trigger, there's the PDF book, but also Mark wants you to click the button that says schedule a call. That way you can have that 20-minute conversation just to discuss possibilities and see what can be done. And that is acquisitions number 4 YOU.com. And so, Mr. Marc Adams, I like to end these podcasts with a little bit of a soundbite. That's where I try to make it slightly scary for my guests. And I ask them about interesting or fun quote or lesson that has served them. So do you have any thing in mind as far as a fun or interesting quote or lesson that has served you?
Lesson really for me, and it's as a result of having stage 4 cancer and being diagnosed with only 6 months to live. So the lesson is, never put off until tomorrow what you can do today. How you might translate that into a business sense, which I do, which is start. You'll never get good at something, or you'll never get to where you want to go if you don't get started. And if you don't start, you're never going to get there. So people procrastinate and delay, and I used to be one of these, because they fear what someone else might say, or they think they're not ready. No one cares. Get started, and you'll get much better and much closer to your end goal along the way. And that's made a massive difference to me in the recent years. And I always say that to other people: get started, get going, don't procrastinate, get moving.
Very inspiring. Get rid of those excuses, the head trash. Take that first step. And the first step that you should take is going to acquisitions, number 4, YOU.com. And we've been speaking with Mr. Marc with a C. That's Marc Adams, who's also the author of Secrets to 10Xing Your Business and Cashing Out Tax-Free. He's amazing. He can help your business. He can get you where you need to go. So go to acquisitionsforyou.com, book a call, or contact him on WhatsApp. The button's on that website, acquisitionsforyou.com. And Mr. Marc Adams, thanks for being here.
Thank you very much for having me, my friend. It's been a pleasure being with you today. I'm really, really grateful to you.